Check this out, man. Plot the Gum. He actually made a character named Plot the Gum. That's awesome. This is 3 attempts in a row to do the 3 racks. Obviously, you didn't properly wall off. This rack should have been moved over 1 square, and then that would have been a proper wall off. The intersection between the depot and the rack should only be 1 square of intersection. So the Zerg knows it's coming, and we can fast forward and see what you have at 5 minutes. You should have 12 workers and 12 Marines, and you should already have hit him. So you clear the watchtower before pushing up, and here you go. It looks like at 5 minutes you has 12 SCVs and 10 Marines, so you're 2 Marines short. And you pulled all your workers. This is okay. This is what it says to do in the Team Liquid posts that initially inspired me to do this build. But I really don't like this because you're basically after these next 2, 3, 4 Marines, you're not gonna have any more Marines coming. So this is like so ridiculously very much all in. So he makes 2 spines and is just completely immune to your push and kicks your butt. So this is, I mean, partially this is why I don't do it against Zerg at all, but another way of considering this is to say that you really need to be hitting him before the 4-minute mark when this finishes. Because if he starts this at 2:10, it's going to pop at 4 minutes, right? So around 4 minutes. And now he's going to start a spine, which is going to be done at 4 minutes and like 30 seconds or something. So I don't know how long spines take to build, but not very long. 50 seconds. So by 450, if your Marines aren't hitting him by 450, you can't win a TVZ. So this is just a matter of, you know, you hit him too late and you lost. You also were 2 Marines short. You also didn't wall in properly, and you also pulled all your workers so that there's no more Marines coming, which I kind of dislike. But, you know, some people like to pull all their workers and some people don't. With just a mule back home mining, you should be able to support 160 minerals a minute, which is 3 Marines every minute, which means exactly half saturation of these buildings. But if you leave 3 workers behind and have the mule, then then you can afford full saturation of your buildings, which I think is much preferable. So let's go into the next attempt. Take 2. Plot the Gum. Looks like this time we got a Terran, and so denying his scout is really crucial because if he makes a bunker, you lose. One of the keys to denying a Terran scout is to make him think that the low ground wall-in is your no-gas fast expand, right? Because if he sees the low ground wall-in and doesn't think you're fast expanding, he's just gonna do this. Like, there's no reason for him to do anything else, and then he's immune to you. And part of tricking him into thinking you're doing a fast expand is, I mean, I think being in a league where people actually fast expand is important to that. Because I don't know what league your alt is in, but it's probably bronze or silver or even gold. And in those leagues, people don't really fast expand in TVT. So it's not as believable, you know? So I think this works better for me than for you, just because in the Masters League people expect you to be fast expanding, because that's the traditional way to TVT in the Masters League. So with the bunker on the high ground, there's no possible way you can get in and do any damage. I'd like to see if you did this right, and when you hit, looks like at 5 minutes we wanted 12 and 10, and again you're exactly 2 workers short. So I don't know, and you pulled all your workers. When does this bunker finish is a good question, because for Zerg you have to hit before 450, and for Terran it looks like if he makes a bunker right after his racks. I don't think you can ever hit before this bunker finishes. To hit at 4 minutes, I mean, you don't have any units at all at that point. So there was no way for you ever to have done damage to this guy. And that's pretty, I mean, he can't make this bunker. If he does this and makes that bunker, there's nothing you can do. So you just need to hide what you're doing a little bit better. And it's hard. It's impossible, basically, to hide what you're doing if he doesn't think that you're possibly fast expanding. You have to fake that you're fast expanding, or let him in and make a geyser and then cancel it after you kill the SCV. Or I don't know. I don't know what you can do, but in this league, if I saw someone low ground wall, and I would know it was coming, and I would bunker up. Honestly, in any league, I would, but most people wouldn't necessarily do that. So it looks like another TVT, and again, if he makes a bunker, you lose. He isn't walling in, so this is good. He actually canceled his racks so that he could get it closer to the and he is going to make a bunker. But this is not so bad because you can hit this bunker with your workers. So we're looking for 12 and 12, and you actually did it this time. You got 12 and 12, so that's much better. That's good. Again, you're pulling all your workers, so again, you're going to end up with kind of idle stuff, and again, you're pushing kind of late. But this time, you actually get in there and knock his crap down, and now you want to... Basically, you won. Alright, so great job. 3 tries, 1 win.
Base is under attack.
I mean, obviously he has a CC somewhere, so just send 1 Marine to every location, and you'll eventually find it. But there's no way he can come back and win, so I don't have to watch him fail to do so. Anyway, I love the alt account. Advice I would give is just go earlier in TVZ, and in TVT, if he gets that bunker, you lose. Which is why I don't know that I love this build in TVT, because say 50% of the people get that bunker, so now you win 50% of your games, and that's good enough. But now say 80% of the people you play against get the bunker, and now you lose 80% of your games. That's not good enough. So really, you kind of have to do it. You have to play that build 10 times against Terran to find out whether it's even a viable build or not. And it's just the build kind of bores me so much that I'd never really want to try 10 games in a row against Terran and see how it works. But by all means, give it a shot. See what percentage of the time they get bunkers. So now we're seeing a different build, it seems, in TVZ. It looks like you've pulled the second worker to make this depot. I don't like that because that worker could have been mining. If you want to get the wall in really early, like, because you don't need that depot really early. And if you want to start the depot so that you have the wall in and can deny scouting, which honestly these days with the faster overlords is silly because you can just scout you with an overlord. Take this guy who's building your racks, hit T to pull him off the racks, and then make the depot, and then hit T, pull him off the depot, and put him back on the racks. And that will delay you a little bit, but you'll still finish before the 16th worker is done, so it doesn't really delay anything. And it gives you the wall in quick enough. So lots of depots and 3 racks and no add-ons and a bunker, and it looks like you're starting a wall in. The fact that you built all these depots up here kind of bugs me. The fact that you made these 2 racks up here kind of bugs me. You need the natural wall in as quick as you can get it. So building a racks here and then a racks here and a bunker above the add-on of the second racks and then 2 depots down here, like, you can finish this so much quicker if you make these 2 racks down the time. But worrying a little less about that, we say 44 workers at 10 minutes is totally fine. I would love to see more than that, but 44 is the benchmark. If you hit it, then good. He niduses you. At 10 minutes, having a big army is kind of your theme, right? You tend to do pretty well at that. And this game is no different. You have a $2,200 army with some upgrades. Let's see, just stim almost finished in a bunker. So while 23, 4, 5 is quite crap for 10 minutes, it's good enough. With a fast expanding build and a wall, and you should be able to survive with a $2,500 army, especially with medevacs on the way. So you go over and attack with the SCVs, try to knock down the Nidus, fail, lose a bunch of SCVs before the fight even starts, and then you're able to mop them up with just your army and kill the Nidus. So if you hadn't lost all those SCVs, that would have been fine. Like, your army was strong enough to kill his army, and it was just kind of it was a good call to pull the SCVs and try to get the Nidus, but as soon as the Nidus finished, you should have just run away with those SCVs. Also, empty the bunker and bring it with you. Also, when you make a wall in on the low ground, don't make the bunker a part of your wall in. It wants to be behind the wall and not to be a part of it. Also, this is not blocked off. You do this a lot where you leave a space that's not blocked off so that you can get your army out. But just block that with the depot and then lower that depot if you want to always be able to get your army out without having to think about it. Because then you can raise the depot later on if you need to. You're pretty far behind at this point on economy, and we talked about before the vulnerability of 2-basing in TVZ is that infantry is really easy for Zerg to kill unless it has specific upgrades. So you're moving across the field trying not to get intercepted, but it's important to send that one Marine ahead to see if he has any army at all, because he literally has no units at all. And you're being really cautious and patient with your crossing of the field, and you don't need to be. So send one Marine to his base, and then send your army behind it. So one Marine goes to the watchtower, one Marine goes to his base, the rest of your army just starts walking towards his base. If he kills the Marine that's coming towards his base, now you know where his army is, and you know how much time you have to spread your crap, and patrol is a good way to quickly spread that crap out. But this uber patience in a scenario where you don't need to be patient it's hurting you. It's costing you time. So he went straight to Broodlords, which is not a viable strategy at all. And now you're pure Marine Medevac against Broodlords, which is actually good for you. Marine Medevac should be able to kill Broodlords pretty quickly. What you want to do, I mean, doing this, you're never going to kill the Broodlords because you're not even shooting them. But what you want to do is have a group like this big of Marines with Medevacs floating overhead down here absorbing the Broodlings. And then have another group of Marines that you Medevac drop underneath the Broodlords, so that all the Broodlings are going over here. And notice how they're not killing anything. They're just kind of going over here and dying and occasionally killing one Marine. And then in the backfield, your Marines are killing the Broodlords. So either run away or do something that's actually capable of killing Broodlords, because just standing there and dying, that's not helping anything. So you got a ton of gas. This was a problem you had last time, where you got enough Marine production, but you didn't get enough air unit production, so you just don't have any way of spending this gas. And the triple starport would have been great in a scenario where your opponent gets Broodlords. You've got a bunch of Vikings and Marines. You have enough to kill his army right now, but you just kind of left your Vikings in your base. You're eventually going to mop this nonsense up. He does another Ling run by. Again, this is just because of the lack of a Wallen. Having multiple layers of Wallens is important. If he knocks down this front Wallen with his Broodlords, having a second Wallen here is going to save you from that run by. So that run by wouldn't have happened if you had the Wallen. You're able to. You're way ahead at this point, despite having no workers. You're ahead philosophically, man, because he's on one mined out base, and this base is so far away from his stuff with no creep spread in between that you should theoretically be able to just go over there and shut it down. So if you go now, you can win this game, but if you don't, you're going to be facing him getting further and further ahead due to him having an income and you having no income. It's important to note that when you you shouldn't have lost all your workers to that silly run by, but it's important to note that when you have lost your workers, go right then, because it's going to be a long time before you get an actual income. And second, prioritize SCV production, man. You have zero SCVs, so every SCV you add to that is a pretty huge difference. So this passivity when you have no workers is really bad, because you're just letting him stack up more and more workers. And then taking this third base is ridiculous, because you literally have no workers. What good is it? Who cares if you have one base or three? And you spent some of the meager money you actually have on a base that's not going to do anything. So like I said, this base was too far away for him to keep, and you went over and you knocked it down, and that's exactly what I expected to happen. But it took you a long time to do it, and by the time you get back home, he's got a bunch of crap in your base. Looks like you're going to go for a base trade instead of trying to defend, and I like that maneuver because Broodlords are damn slow, and now his income is 0. So I love that you're base trading here. And you're going to go over here and try to get some stuff done. I don't like that you're losing the all-important Vikings to Spore Crawlers. It's kind of silly. And now with 10 unit space, you're kind of doomed. So you did a lot of things right that game, but you did a couple of really crucial things wrong, like suiciding your SCVs to the Spore, suiciding your SCVs to the Broodlords, and suiciding your SCVs to a run-by. As well as being really passive with your army movement. It's important that you not all of a sudden lose your whole army to a bunch of banelings that you didn't see coming. Right? That's important. It's important not to be walking across the field in a big clump and all of a sudden get ambushed and lose your whole army. But it's totally safe to walk across an area that you know there's no bad guys in. Right? So get an idea of where his army is by sending your dudes out to scout where his army location, and then just move around in a completely clumped up, easily fungal position, because with the confidence that he can't fungal you if he doesn't have any infestors. You know, so after a Nidus, you're almost always going to be way ahead on army size after a Nidus, because that's just how Niduses work, man. That with Terran buildings to defend, just look, after the Nidus, you've got a $1,100 army. He's got no army, you know, so go. That's just a general rule. If he's going to Nidus, he's going to Nidus you with everything. He's not going to Nidus you with a little tiny smattering. And if you cleaned up the Nidus, that means you killed everything. That means go. That means go right freaking now. And just walk all the way right up to the front of his base and kill him. Don't go halfway across and wait patiently to see what's happening. Yeah, and just several times throughout the game you lost workers that you didn't need to lose. And more importantly, this is a theme we've talked about a bunch of times with your games, is that you're trying to 2-base all in. You don't want to make any workers after 10 minutes, and I respect that. 2-base all inning is a valid way to play. But when you lose workers, you never replace them, and I don't like that. Because you're basically saying, I'm going to rush as quick as I can to 50 workers, and then I'm going to stop, right? And the problem is that if you lose 17 workers, you no longer have 50. So you need to build 17 more. You know, you need to replace the ones you lost. And you don't really make workers. I mean, for a little while you queue up a bunch of workers and you're like, I need to replace the ones I lost. But then these CCs are idle from now on until the end of the game. So consistent worker production throughout long games is kind of important. But it's hard to turn it on and turn it off. I mean, you're 2-base all inning, not making workers after a certain point, and I respect that. It's just, I understand why you're not making workers, but it's a bad thing. I don't understand why it happened. And fighting broodlords, obviously having more starports is important. Having more starports in general is important. Once you get 50 workers and you have this $2,500 a minute income, you need to have enough buildings to support $2,500 a minute. And this is this is 400 every 42 seconds times 42 divided by 60. 280 a minute, so it's basically 250 a minute. It's the same as most buildings. So most buildings are 250 a minute. So if you have a $2,400 income divided by 250, you need 9.6 buildings. At 12 minutes, you should really be shooting for 12 buildings. And you're basically on 2.5 buildings. And this 2.5 racks and 1 starport, so 3.5 buildings. And 3.5 is far fewer than 12, so go for 12. Yeah. So lots of things done right, lots of things done wrong. I love that you have a new account called Plat the Gam, and good job.